Hello, and welcome to the Pleasure Practice, a safe space for exploration of the evasive interplay of emotion and erotic that is intimacy. I'm Nikki, your intimacy expert, relationship intuist, dating advisor, and certified sex coach. There is never any judgment here. Only curiosity and insight. Thank you so much for choosing to join me on this journey. Enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of the Pleasure Practice. I'm Nikki, your guide to everything intimacy, relationships, and dating. Thank you for joining me today. We've already talked about how love hits the brain just like a drug. But here's the truth. It's not just one substance. Love is chemistry. Literally. It is a full-blown biological cocktail of chemicals that mix, clash, and interact inside brain and your body every time that you fall for that special someone. We call it passion, attraction, intimacy. Sometimes we call it madness. But underneath all of that passion, all of that poetry, and sometimes all of that pain, it is molecules. Dopamine, oxytocin, seratonin, cortisol, and beta-endorphins. Each one plays a very specific role in how we love, how we bond, and in how we can break. I think just about everyone can probably recall that rush that you get when you saw your first crush, when you asked out that special someone and they said yes. That is dopamine. The high. It is your reward chemical. It's the one that lights you up when you're doing something good, new, or exciting. When you fall in love, dopamine floods your brain. It tells you that this person is pleasure. This person is excitement. This person is worth chasing. That is why you can't stop checking your phone, can't stop reliving that kiss or replaying their touch over and over in your mind. It's not magic, and it's not unnatural obsession. It's your reward circuitry doing what it's supposed to do. The same system is literally activated by gambling, by drugs, and by risk. Love quite literally can become your brain's favorite addiction. Love, it's more than just that rush or that thrill. If it weren't, we wouldn't get into long-term monogamous relationships, raise children together, build a life. It would be a world full of one-night stands. Oxytocin, that is the chemical that facilitates bonding. Oxytocin is the glue. It's produced in your amygdala, which also regulates fear and feelings of safety. When oxytocin levels rise, whether it be through touch, sex, eye contact, or even shared laughter, your fear response, it quiets down. You feel safe. You trust. And you let your guard drop. And that is beautiful. It is how the true intimacy begins. But it can also be why we miss some red flags. That same chemical that makes you feel so safe can also facilitate you bonding with someone that isn't. Oxytocin, it doesn't discriminate. It just says, you are mine and I am yours. Even when maybe it's not right for us. Now, with all of this intensity, there has to be some kind of stabilizing factor. That is where serotonin comes in. That is the one that is supposed to keep us calm, stable, and balanced. When you're falling in love, it drops. Falling in love, it lowers serotonin. That is the chemical that is often associated with newer age antidepressants, SSRIs, or serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which basically prevent your brain from reabsorbing the serotonin after it's released so that the levels of serotonin in your system increase. It also is involved not only with depression, but also with OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder. This drop in serotonin is exactly why you can't focus, can't stop thinking about this special person, why you can act a little obsessive or a little irrational. In fact, the brain of someone who has newly fallen in love looks very similar, almost identical to someone who suffers from OCD. Love, quite literally, can make you a little bit crazy. But it's a chemically induced madness that evolution has decided is worth it. And then there's cortisol. Now, cortisol, that is the stress hormone. And falling in love, especially in the early stages, it causes a spike in cortisol. That racing heartbeat, the nerves, those butterflies you might feel in your stomach, that is actually your body on alert. You're excited, yes, but you are also stressed. This is your brain telling you this matters. It's important. Please, don't screw it up. And if the relationship becomes unstable, hot and cold, unpredictable, well, that anxiety, that cortisol, it never drops. You stay stuck And that anxiety, craving reassurance like oxygen. That is why love can make you feel both exhausted and euphoric at the same time. You are craving the person to calm your nervous system, who at the same time is also arousing your nervous system and stimulating these same hormones. That is why love can make you feel both euphoric and drained, wonderful and anxious, stressed, downright terrible at the same time. And then there is the calm, the beta endorphins. This is your own personal, your body's natural morphine. The beta endorphins are what make long-term love feel so safe and grounding instead of fiery and chaotic. Endorphins are the chemical version of coming home or being wrapped in a warm hug. But, like any opiate, while they can make you feel wonderful, they can also keep you numb. You can stay in a relationship that is comfortable but no longer beneficial to both of you as a team, because that endorphin calm feels so much better than the withdrawals that you go through when you separate from that partner, because that endorphin calm that you get from being in that familiar situation with that familiar person, it feels so much better than the withdrawal that you will go through if you separate yourself from that person and leave that relationship. So, love is a drug, but which drug is it? Well, love is a mix. It is the cocktail creation of all these different chemicals interacting together. All together, these chemicals create the cycle of love. The high, the bond, the obsession, the stress, the pain, and the peace and the calm. Dopamine makes you pursue. Oxytocin helps you to trust. Serotonin keeps or loses your balance. Cortisol fuels the chaos, and the endorphins keep you hooked in. When the balance is right, it can feel like magic. But when it's off, love can feel like utter madness. Either way, it's chemical. So, the next time that you're falling for, or fighting, or healing, remember, your body is dosing you. You are swimming in your own personal pharmacy. Love is so powerful, but love is not always wise. Understanding the chemistry behind it helps you tell the difference between being in love and just being hooked on those chemicals that you get because of that person. Because when you know what's happening inside you, you start choosing partners with your heart and with your brain. And that is how you turn love from a drug into medicine. So, next up, we will take these chemicals one by one, starting with oxytocin, the bonding chemical that lowers fear and sometimes lowers your guard. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon on the pleasure practice.